Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Physician, Finances, and Investing. I'm Joe, a resident physician, and you know what time it is. Let's talk about how to get that bread. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In my last video, I compared and contrast mutual funds and ETFs to provide the beginner investors with some similarities and differences between these two common investment options. You guys know the deal. If you missed that video, I'll put a link to it right up there. In recent videos, I've been focusing a lot on investing, but I've realized that I've been neglecting the finances part of physician, finances, and investing. So in today's video, I'd like to take a step back and focus on some personal finance concepts. But before we get started with today's video, I just want to take a brief moment to thank everyone who has been supporting me and my channel so far, and also to give a quick shout out to those of you who have reached out to me to personally offer your support.
Joe's crushing it. My favorite image is when Joe's doing this and he's got the bags of money on his biceps.
Have you guys seen?
Thanks again, everyone, for all of your support. So with all of that being said, let's jump right into today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the 50-30-20 rule. Now, before we can go any further with this conversation, I'm sure you guys are all asking, Joe, what is the 50-30-20 rule? Well, in order to talk about that, I'd like everyone to imagine a pie. Oh man, I hope it's apple. I love apple pie. Sorry, average Joe, I'm not talking about that kind of pie. I'm talking about a pie chart. The 50-30-20 rule is referring to everyone's favorite concept whenever it comes to personal finances: budgeting. Knowing where your money's going in an ideal budget. Let's take a quick look at an example of a pie chart to break down the 50-30-20 rule further. In the largest section of the pie chart, we have the 50%, which goes toward your needs. The second largest part of the pie chart, 30%, goes toward your wants. And then the smallest section of the pie chart, the 20%, goes towards saving and paying off debt. So now that we have a visual representation to refer to, let's break down each category further and give examples of each. Keep in mind that for today's video, we're dealing with after-tax dollars, basically your net income. So for example, if you make $50,000 a year, your gross income, and you pay taxes on a portion of that money, then the number that you're left with is your net income. And that's the number that we'll be using for today's video. In terms of the 50% category, your needs, these are things like regular daily living expenses, things like groceries, housing, whether that be your mortgage or your rent, health insurance, utilities, just to name a few. Whenever I'm looking at my personal budget and trying to decide what types of things to include under the needs category, I like to think about it as things that I literally could not live without, or things that would greatly inconvenience my life if I were to lose them. So whenever you're looking at your personal budget and allocating your net income, remember that these are the types of things that you want to include under that 50% needs category. So with that being said, the next logical thing to talk about for this video would be the 30% category, your wants. In my opinion, this is an area where I think people tend to get pretty confused, and you can find yourself in a lot of trouble here if you can't clearly define what's a want and what's a need.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I definitely don't need it. I 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 need it!
Whenever I'm looking at my budget, I like to define a want as something that would cause a minor inconvenience in my life if I were to lose it. So this is where you can distinguish a want from a need. A want isn't a need in the sense that, hey, if I don't eat or if I can't afford shelter, I literally could die. Those types of things are needs. So a want is different. A want is essentially saying to yourself, hey, I can take the minor inconvenience of cutting Netflix from my budget or holding off on buying the new iPhone. Or, you know what? I don't really need to spend $4 a day on Starbucks coffee. Another great example here would be things like shopping. Am I going to drop dead if I can't go out and shop right now? Am I going to die if I can't get a new pair of shoes? I mean, my wife might, but I think I'll be okay. You say that now, Doc, but tell me how you feel after your wife sees this video. Some other examples of wants are things like dining out, and this is a pretty big one for Americans. Most of us are so busy with our lives and our careers that it's easier for us to hop in the car and go out to buy food rather than to take time to prepare it at home. Another example of a want is a hobby. And personally, I think that hobbies are the biggest joys of life and everyone should have one. So whether you enjoy gardening or flying drones or making YouTube videos, hobbies greatly improve your quality of life and I think that everyone should have one. But technically, they're not necessary to live, so they fall under the want category. Now, I know that a lot of this information probably sounds pretty basic, but until you actually sit down and write down all of your expenses, your wants can easily start creeping into your needs until you find yourself in debt every single month. So on that note, let's move on to talk about the last 20%, saving and paying off debt. Things that I include under this category would be things like your emergency fund. Now, in general, I recommend that everybody have at least 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up in their emergency fund. So, for example, if you know that your expenses in the needs category of your budget costs $2,000 a month, then you should have saved up anywhere between $6,000 and $12,000 in your emergency fund. Having an emergency fund can literally save your butts, guys. I spent an entire video previously talking about the importance of an emergency fund, so rather than talking about that information again, I'll put the link to that video up top and in the description of this video for you guys to check out. Obviously, debt also falls under this category, so things like credit card debt and student loan debt. Now, I promise that I'll spend a future video talking about different methods to use to pay off debt, but you should definitely be using this 20% to smash some of those debts. Just like you should smash the like button if you haven't already for the YouTube algorithm. And obviously, saving for retirement also falls into this category. Now guys, I know that a lot of this information sounds like common sense, but until you actually sit down and come up with a monthly budget, know what your net income is, and break that money down using the 50, 30, 20% rule, you'd be surprised how quickly your money can leak into these different categories without you noticing it. That's the information that I wanted to cover in today's video. And again, I know that this isn't any groundbreaking information, but until you actually sit down and come up with a budget using the 50, 30, 20% rule, you'd be surprised where your money can go. I wanted to keep this video brief and focus on some high yield information that everybody needs to know in order to become masters of their finances. If you have friends and family who would also benefit from watching this video, please share it with them. As a reminder, I'm not a certified financial planner. I'm a resident physician who recognizes the importance of taking an active role when it comes to managing your money and wanted to encourage others to do the same. So with that being said, I highly encourage everyone to do their own research before making any financial decisions. That concludes another episode of Physician, Finances, and Investing. I hope that you guys found this video both fun and informative. If you have any questions or would like me to talk about a specific topic in a future video, please feel free to comment below and I'll be sure to get that information to you guys. And if you haven't already, please smash that like button and click on that subscribe button to let me know that you like what we're doing here at Physician, Finances, and Investing and to help support my channel. Thanks everyone, and have a great day.